Good morning to you all. Welcome to my 9th talk. It's the 8th of June today, 2025. My series, Love the New Paradigm. And this talk here today is the 4 cornerstones of love. And this is part 6. If you've missed the rest, I'd strongly recommend you go and have a look. So let's get straight into it. Last week, I explored the second pillar of love, which was respect. And I shared an example of what that looks and sounds like in real life. This week, I'm doing the same with the third pillar, which is knowledge. Okay, so let's dive in and see how knowledge shows up in love, what it looks like, what it sounds like, and how badly it can go when it's not done right. Stay with me until the end. Why? Because this could completely change the way that you understand the role of knowledge in love and in connection. Okay, there's a lot of myths out there. People are they're getting it upside down. They really are. So have a look at this. Tell me what you think. Now, I'm going to start, as I always do, with last week's closing question. What was it? Where in your life might frustration or defensiveness be blocking your chance for real connection? And what would it look like to stay open instead? Try asking yourself, what part of me is trying to protect something right now, and what might shift if I chose curiosity instead? And by curiosity, we are looking at being intrigued. We are looking at wanting to ask questions. We're looking at just being inquiring, as opposed to narrow-minded, as opposed to defensive, as opposed to closed to anything else. Now, I had a viewer send in what it is that they felt from this and how they answered the question. So let's look at what you've shared. I think for me, it's when I feel like my husband isn't listening. I go straight into this place where I have to prove my point, or I just shut down and give him the cold shoulder. But when I really sat with your question, I realized it's not just about that argument. It's that deep down, there's a part of me that feels like I'm not being seen or heard at all. I assume it's because he just doesn't care. When I asked myself what part of me was trying to protect something, I think it's the tired, stretched part that's scared of feeling like I don't matter, like I'm maybe not worthy. By choosing to be curious instead, I've tried it a couple of times this week, just asking, what does that mean to you? Instead of snapping. And honestly, it has softened something. Obviously, it didn't fix everything, but it definitely helped. I'll continue on this path and let's see what happens. I like that. That is from Jaspreet. So thank you, Jaspreet. That's a great example there of what it looks like when we start to put what it is that we are learning into practice. And this is the key here, okay? You can learn everything it is in the world. You can have an encyclopedia of knowledge in that brain of yours, and you can go off and recite it, regurgitate it all off by heart to anybody. Great. Lovely. And if we are going to enter into, I don't know, debates, if we're going to enter into competitions where you're going to win something, go for it. Fantastic. However, if you're just spouting it off for the sake of spouting it off to make yourself feel better, to make yourself feel like you know what it is that you're talking about, which is great. And it is so important to know. That's lovely. However, if you are not applying this knowledge, if you are not putting this into practice, then you're just an encyclopedia. You're just the internet of stuff. And that's lovely. But you ain't going to be doing much with it, meaning it ain't going to transform you. It isn't going to change you. It isn't going to have an impact on your life. And you'll just carry on exactly where you are, feeling exactly the way that you are. Love is the only sane and satisfactory answer to the problem of human existence. To love means to commit oneself without guarantee, to give oneself completely in the hope that our love will produce love in the loved person. There's a lot of love going on. Love is an act of faith. And whoever is of little faith is also of little love. Isn't that beautiful? That's Erich Fromm. That's the guy that has inspired this entire framework. So let's jump straight in, okay? The 4 cornerstones of love every week. I hope that you can be reminded so that it can be etched and burnt into your psyche so that you can just roll them off the tip of your tongue, not just to impress everybody at a party, no, but also to put into practice in your everyday lives. So the first cornerstone is empathy, okay? They go in order as well. Without empathy, you can't have the second one, which is respect, okay? Respect is I have the right to be me and you have the right to be you. I will be boundaried about my right to be me. And I'll be respectful of your right to be you. The third is knowledge. Without empathy and respect, you cannot build knowledge because you will be too busy judging. You will be too busy getting upset with what somebody is or isn't saying or doing and making it mean something about you. And then the fourth, which can only exist with the previous 3, is responsibility. The ability to respond to my needs first and foremost, and then the needs of those that I love. Now, today we are talking about, as that lovely orange brushed circle states, knowledge is what we're talking about today. Let's jump straight in. Knowledge in love means being willing and open to learn what I really feel, what you really feel, and what we need to meet in the middle. Do I take the time to learn what makes you feel safe, seen and valued? Or do I assume I already know? Remember, this goes back to yourself. First and foremost, yourself first. Do I take the time to learn what makes me feel safe? What makes me feel seen and valued? Or do I assume I already know? We treat knowing as something that just happens in love. But in truth, we change. And deep love requires a willingness to continually keep learning and growing together. And this is going to come up in the example that we're going to look at, okay? And that's change. I know. Ego finds that word very difficult. Anxiety finds that word very difficult. My little one tends to find that word difficult, but it's one we must embrace. Do I actually try to understand you, or me for that matter? Do we try to understand? Do we take the time? Or do I just go with what makes sense to me, even if I'm kind of getting the inkling that it's not working? If you're here watching these videos, then you already know something's not working quite right, whether it be within yourself or whether it be in a relationship outside of you. But that's why you're here. So already you want to ask yourself, is it that I am trying to understand and apply that knowledge and understanding into practice? Or am I just going to continue to go with what makes sense? It's a good question, huh? I know. Knowledge, the ongoing act of understanding. It's a beautiful background, that. How many times have you thought you knew what someone would love, only to find out later you got it completely wrong? Upside down. Truly knowing someone in love means staying curious. Curious about their story without making it mean anything about you. It's about asking, listening, and learning, not just about what they enjoy, but what it means to them, what shaped it, and how it connects to their life and their life experiences. So how it connects to their story. From the moment they were born to the minute they're sitting here now, there's a reason that they like what they like, and there's a reason that they don't. And that's got to do with their history, with their stories. When's the last time you asked about their story? They may not have even been aware of which aspects of their story play a part in why they like what they like or don't like what they like. But by you asking, you are helping build that awareness for yourself and for them, maybe. Isn't that a beautiful thing? Yes, it is. Guessing is easy. Really, it is. But being present enough to let someone show you what matters to them, that's where real connection happens. Guessing is easy. Assuming is easy. But being present enough to let someone show you what matters to them, that's where real connection happens. How present are you with your own self? That's not a metaphorical, abstract question. It's just a question that I ask you to say, but how present are you with yourself? In the room, not in your head, not in your feelings, just in the room, in a balanced, loving place. Sometimes the problem isn't that we don't care. It's that we stop paying attention. We hold on to an old version of someone, forgetting that people change, people grow and evolve, creating new layers we haven't seen or understood quite yet. And this is what happens with long-term relationships. We don't necessarily keep up. Knowing someone well doesn't happen once. It's something we keep choosing to do moment by moment, day by day, month by month, and year by year. The same goes for ourselves, of course. Me, first and foremost, and then you. We can't build real self-knowledge if we're stuck in judgment or trying to get everything right. It comes from curiosity, from kindness, and from a willingness to understand what's really driving us and why we respond the way we do, when we do. And also when that changes, why has that changed? And to understand that, not to judge it, but to get to know it, to understand your evolution. Even with the best of intentions, it's easy to miss the mark. Let's have a look at an example, how that can happen. Without knowledge. It's my partner's birthday soon, and I want to surprise him. I remember him saying he loves cars and he loves driving. So I book a full day Formula One racetrack experience. He loves watching Formula One too, so it includes time with a pro driver and a chance to drive one of the fastest cars in the world. I feel proud. It feels like I've got a great gift ready to give him. But on the day, something feels off. He's polite. He thanks me. But there's a hesitation in his face. Can't quite place it. Later that week, I find out he gets motion sick easily and actually prefers watching races and programs about cars from the comfort of his sofa. His dream day would have been something different. The intention, full of love, but I never asked. I relied on what I thought I knew instead of checking in. I confused remembering one detail with understanding the bigger picture. That's the danger of skipping knowledge in love. You start assuming instead of learning. And that's without knowledge. But it doesn't have to go that way. When we replace assumption with curiosity, something starts to shift. Love becomes less about trying to impress and more about learning what really matters. Here's what it can look like when we take the time to ask. With knowledge. It's my partner's birthday soon and I want to plan something special. I know he likes cars, but instead of jumping to conclusions, I ask a few gentle questions. What is it about cars he enjoys? Is it the speed, the design, the history? Has he ever done a track day before? What's a dream experience he hasn't had yet? We end up in quite a deep chat. Turns out it's not the driving that lights him up. It's the design of the cars, the engineering, the evolution of the sport over time. Because he does love Formula One. And I know that because he watches it. most weeks without fail. So he tells me how he used to watch Formula One with his dad every Sunday, fascinated by the technology and the strategy behind it all. How he's always wanted to visit the official F1 exhibition to see how it all came together. So instead of a driving experience, which is what I would have assumed he would have loved, I now book a weekend away with tickets to the exhibition, a behind-the-scenes tour, and a lunch at the Trackside Cafe. He's speechless. It's not just the day that lands, it's the feeling of being seen for who he truly is. It's someone taking that time to really get to know you. A lovely story. I know. With assumption, without knowledge. With assumption, misunderstandings happen, surface level gestures actually take place, and unmet needs come from that, as does disappointment. Due to the fault of nobody. Don't get me wrong, this is really not about blame, it's not about pointing fingers, it's not about anything. It's about understanding the nuances, the intricacies of love as an active, participating energy that you participate in, and what keeping that energy flowing, what it looks like tangibly. And knowledge being one of the cornerstones of it is a key element. Without knowledge, you won't really continue to know somebody. And when I say continue, you can get to know them. We have a honeymoon period. We get to know each other. It's great. It's lovely. Asking loads of questions with so much curiosity. I mean, why don't we all go back there? How curious were we? How excited were we? How much did we want to spend time with each other and do things with each other? Yeah, loads. However, that continues. And what we then do is we assume it stays as it was, and we start moving on and paying attention to other aspects of life, understandably, because those other aspects are time consuming, energy consuming. They consume most parts of our day. But what we want to be able to do to build and continue to keep a deep, long-lasting love is that we want to continue to build knowledge. The focus is on guessing and assumptions instead of actually learning what truly matters. It ends with good intentions that unfortunately tend to miss the mark and leave both parties feeling unseen or misunderstood. Makes the little one feel sad. And that's not good. With knowledge, without assumption. Being curious and taking the time to ask enables real connection with more meaningful choices and actions. Curiosity is intrigue. Intrigue is excitement. Think of honeymoon period. The focus shifts to asking and understanding rather than assuming and hoping. It ends with deeper intimacy, shared meaning, and the feeling of being seen, known, and understood. That is lovely, isn't it? The real lesson here is knowledge is not about having the right answers. It's about asking the right questions. Knowledge is not about having the right answers. It's about asking the right questions. And actually, it's not even the right questions. It's just asking tons of questions from intrigue, from curiosity, with love, for love, about love. When we stop assuming and start listening, we begin to truly understand each other. And that's how connection happens, not through assumptions, but in the ongoing practice of learning with presence, with patience and intrigue about ourselves and those we truly love. Knowledge brings us closer together, helping us feel seen, understood, and less alone. Knowledge brings us closer together, helping us feel seen, understood, and less alone. Real question. Do you sometimes feel alone even when you are not? I do love sunflowers. Do you wish someone would ask how you really are, what matters to you, or what might bring you a little joy just in these moments, in this time, in this period of time? When is the last time somebody did that? Do you want them to or do you not? Do you want to be left alone? Do you want to be left alone in the alone? Maybe you do. Have you ever tried to share what you need in small, honest pieces? Offering someone who loves you the chance to understand you more deeply, because it's a two-way street. We must never assume somebody knows. They are not mind readers. They won't know what's going to happen. They are not fortune tellers. However, we must give them the chance to give you what it is that you need. The interesting thing is, if we don't even know what it is that we need, how can anybody that really loves you be able to give you that? They can't. It's impossible. And so you taking that time to truly sit with yourself and bring into awareness what the individual aspects of you need, meaning your little one, your teen, your adult, asking, what is it that I need? Really will give you the opportunity to make it tangible. You can put it into words, and only then can you articulate that to someone that you love, someone that loves you. And only then could there be an opportunity for them to be able to offer you what it is that you truly need so that you feel less alone in it all. Feeling disconnected and feeling alone, it's a dark, and it can be a very scary place. Let's remember that about each other and take the time to see each other. Question for reflection. Have you mistaken familiarity for truly knowing someone? What's something you haven't asked someone that you love in a while? Keep it clean and keep it serious. Try asking yourself, where have I settled into familiarity instead of staying curious or intrigued? What might I come to know if I asked a question I've been avoiding or one that I didn't think mattered? And this goes for those that you love, but this also goes for you. It's really important that you remember that you are having a relationship with yourself. Okay? Just because it's not out there tangible doesn't mean it's not happening. And your relationship with yourself determines how far you will get with the things that your heart truly desires to have, to do, to achieve, to feel. It's only your relationship with yourself that will dictate how far you will get in all of that, in how successful you will feel as a human, because that's determined on what you believe success to be and what it is that you think you need to achieve. Well, that is determined by your relationship with yourself. So the only way to truly go off and be the person that you would like to be, whatever that is, it's irrelevant actually what it is. What matters is that you feel like you've been able to do that, to self-actualize. You've got to ask yourself these questions, and you have to understand you are having a relationship with yourself. And if you are not taking the time to be in that relationship, actively participating, to ask yourself these questions, to respond to your needs, to respect your rights to be you and be boundaried about them when it comes to other people or even yourself. If there isn't empathy for you, how are you ever going to get there? You're not. And if you do, it's going to be really, really hard work. Closing thoughts. Building knowledge isn't something that just happens, especially when we think we already know or assume nothing has changed since the last time we asked. Same goes for you, and the same goes for those that you love. Remember, this goes both ways. But each time we stay curious, intrigued, ask with care, and listen without rushing in, we create the love, the kind of love that allows for deep, lasting connection. In a world full of assumptions, choosing to keep learning about each other is an act of love that keeps us bonded, especially as we continue to grow and change through the years. Remember that. You want to continue to grow and change throughout the years. And if that's the case, you want to keep asking, getting to know, being intrigued, being curious, taking that time. So your question for reflection: have you mistaken familiarity for truly knowing someone? What's something you haven't asked somebody that you love in a while? Go and do that. See what you get back. Check out my next video where I'll dive deeper into the fourth pillar, which is responsibility. I'll give you some examples on that. Thank you again for joining me. Write your reflections in the comments below. I'd love to hear what came up for you. If you have any questions or insights, send them over and I might just include them in next week's video. Thanks again.